Good evening and welcome. Welcome to the Bible Study Studio. My name is Sonia McCullough Lockridge and I am your host, and I joy to come to you in this fashion. Yesterday, we read the beginning parts of chapter 4 of the book of Revelation, and today we are reading chapter 4, verses 7 through 8 of the book of Revelation. And today we're reading those two verses in several translations. So, we're just going to begin to read. But before we start reading, we're going to note that our question of today is, what do the four living creatures not cease to say in the throne room? What do the four living creatures not cease to say? So let's just begin with the New American Standard Version of the text, chapter 4, verses 7 through 8, and let's answer the question, what do the four living creatures not cease to say? Verse 7. The first creature was like a lion, and the second creature was like a calf, and the third creature had a face like that of a man, and the fourth creature was like a flying eagle. And the four living creatures, each one of them having 6 wings, are full of eyes around and within. And day and night they do not cease to say, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God, the Almighty, who was and who is to come. They do not cease to say this. The four living creatures. That is the answer to the question on the table. What do the four living creatures not cease to say? They do not cease to say, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was, who is, and who is to come. Now, the Apostle John, when he's writing this, he's doing his very best to describe these four living creatures. With written words, he is doing his very best. This is why, in all likelihood, he continues to use the words like. He's doing his best. We have his best work of a description of these four living creatures. And notably, the word creature in this passage of the text is used 7 times. 7 times. And yesterday I said we were going to dig into the meaning of the word 7 and its divine implications in the text. But we're going to hold that to tomorrow. But the key word creature is used 7 times in the text. And I've already started my markup print for this portion of the text, and you can see I have colored the word creature so you can see it, and it's 7 times. 7 times in the text. So we've read it in the NASB translation of the text. Now let's read it in the ESV translation of the text. Chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. Chapter 4, verses 7 through 8. The first living creature, like a lion. The second living creature, like an ox. The third living creature, with the face of a man. And the fourth living creature, like an eagle in flight. And the four living creatures, each of them with 6 wings, are full of eyes all around and within, and day and night they never cease to say, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come. This creature they don't have to put their head on it. They don't need to act like, they don't need to be swivel-headed like we do, because they got eyes in and around their head, according to the writing of John. That was the ESV version of the text, and that version of the text is a word-for-word translation. A word-for-word translation. Now, let's go to The CSB, the Christian Standard Bible, which is a thought-for-thought translation. Let's read 4:7-8 in this translation, and we will see. The first living creature was like a lion. The second living creature was like an ox. The third living creature had a face like a man. And the fourth living creature was like a flying eagle. Each of the four living creatures had 6 wings. They were covered with eyes around and inside. Day and night, they never stopped saying, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God the Almighty, who was, who is, and who is to come." They never stopped worshiping the Lord God Almighty, day and night. They never stopped worshiping the Lord. The point of this text is not really so much the creatures, but their worship that never ceased. Now, we're in the throne room with these creatures, the Creator, and Christ. And the creatures are worshiping the Lord God Almighty in a never-ending fashion. So this text is displaying the throne room and how it is a place of worship. Now, are the creatures a little bit creepy? Yeah, they sound creepy. But they're not so creepy as they don't worship the Lord. This is the CSB. So we just read in the CSB. So let's read in the NIV. Revelation 4. Let's see how this thought-for-thought translation of the book of Revelation in the NIV handles the creature. Let's just see. Verse 7. The first living creature was like a lion. The second was like an ox. The third had a face like a man. The fourth was like a flying eagle. Each of the 4 living creatures had 6 wings and was covered with eyes all around, even under his wings. Okay? The other translations lead us to believe that the eyes are on the inside, but this particular translation says the eyes are even under his wings. Day and night, they never stop saying, "Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was and is to come." The point of this text is the worship in the throne room. And the fact that these creatures are worshiping the Lord God Almighty. And if these creatures are worshiping the Lord in this fashion, what would those people that he created do possibly in the throne room? Worship as well. So, the throne room is a place of worship of the Lord God Almighty. And as we look toward the return of Jesus, we need to notice, and notate what these creatures, these living creatures, are doing expressly in the throne room. And that's worship, you guys. That is worship. Worshiping the Lord God Almighty. They never cease to worship day and night. Is that something we're ready for? Is that something we're prepared for? Is that something we think about when we're in church in worship? Or if we're in some type of service in worship? Do we think about yielding to the Lord God Almighty day and night in a nonstop fashion? Is this something that we have ever even suggested to ourselves that might come after the Lord returns? Constant and continuous worship, which never ceases, both day and night. The answer to the question for today: what do the four living creatures not cease to say? Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty, who was, who is, and who is to come. This is Sonia signing out for the Bible Study Studio. I hope and pray you have a blessed day in the Lord.